welcome to the simplicity of happiness when more is too much. This podcast offers tips and techniques for a better life.
And before we start with another episode of the Simplicity of Happiness podcast, I would like to remind you that you can find out all about me and my thoughts on simplicityofhappiness.com, as well as Patreon, where I am providing extra content for all of you who support me and the education of children in Africa. And now relax and enjoy the show. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Simplicity of Happiness podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to have finally a woman again. For some reason, the last guest, they were all male. It's Helen from South Africa in Portugal at the moment. Hi, Helen.
Yes. Hello. How are you?
Well, I'm fabulous. I love blue sky and sun shining, and now we have, I think, 4 or 5 days of constant sunshine again after the winter. So well, I'm happy. There's only one downside. I have to sit inside in my kitchen, as you can see, record that podcast because the Wi-Fi doesn't work outside. Well, Helen, you told me before that, how did you say that? An introspective child?
Introspective.
And yes. And we talked about you being 16 and already asking the big question of life.
Yeah.
What do I want to do?
Yes.
Searching of my phone. But that's how it is if you are recording a live podcast, and I want to be authentic.
Yes.
That's how I want to be. How I want to be on the coachings, and this is why I don't cut that out. But as a friend of mine says, I admit it, so it's okay.
It's okay.
Well, take me back to you being in South Africa. And asking yourself, what do I want to do in life?
Yes. I was I was already, as I said, like an introspective child, always thinking, always out in nature, walking, and I was always talking to consciousness. So I started communicating with consciousness from very early age. And then, of course, I had my own ideas, but I was raised in a religious home. But I asked questions always, and it wasn't satisfying me. And then when I reached, at 16, I actually read a book as well. And the book was The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. I don't know if you've read it.
I don't, but I'm familiar with the title.
Yeah. And that might be it's more like a psychology book, but it started making me think as well. And that question, I was like, okay, so Helen, what do you want? You can have anything. Like, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, well, I want to be happy. But of course, that's what most people want, isn't it? But I was kind of like reverse engineering my life. And I thought, okay, what do I see everybody talk about, or at the end of their life, or that whole thing about dying on the bed, having your last wish, trying to make everything right, trying to find your peace, or you haven't done it. Like, I just saw that and I was like, okay, if that's what everybody wants, why don't I do that one first and not at the end? Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna first try to find the career, first do the relationship, first do all these things. I'm gonna find the answer to happiness. And because I thought people find solutions to problems every day, so there must be an answer to happiness, and I'm gonna find it.
Well, and I'm so curious for that answer because I haven't.
Yeah. And okay, so I literally started searching, so like internal searching, and then it turned into traveling. So when I was 18, I left my parents' home and I went to America and I started traveling. Mm-hmm. And my dad always said, yeah, go on.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. My dad always said it was the biggest mistake that he ever made was to let me go to America. And I always said it was like the best thing I ever did, because his reason was I changed. And I was like, yes, because I changed. But it was amazing. So I started traveling, looking for this answer. And also because I found with traveling, it kind of advanced me quicker in understandings as well. So it's almost like I developed a mechanic. If I did this, you know, my own imagination or not, but it worked for me, is like sometimes I would be stuck on an idea or stuck with something that I can't find the answer. And as soon as I moved to a different location, it's like, even just on the train, you know, I could be staring out of the window and all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, that is it. And then I was like, yes, I moved on. So it was almost like kind of like a little game I was playing. And anyway, so went on traveling for around 9 years. And I was just did that Atlantic crossing, spent 3 months in Brazil, and then went over to England.
Atlantic crossing with a boat, not with a plane. Right?
Yes, yeah. We actually spent 2.5 months on the ocean with that boat, and we were caught in a big storm. So it was pretty intense. But yeah, I think that also answered a few questions on the search.
Well, do you know, I have two questions on my mind. On the one hand, do you have an idea why it could be easier to find the answer when you were traveling? And the other question I have is, when you said you were searching internally, what does that mean? Where and how were you looking for what?
Well, I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. I mean, okay, I knew my goal, you know, find the answer to fulfillment. I knew I would know when I find it. I knew I would know that. Mm-hmm. I knew it doesn't matter how many books I read or how many things I try. I will keep trying, but I'm not going to stop trying until I know this is it. Well, I didn't know what it was going to be because, you know, it's kind of the age-old question, isn't it? Fulfillment. So internal search, I would say, internal search is this like that experience with consciousness, kind of asking yourself, you know, like in your mind, I would say, you know, kind of the feelings that you have, those synchronicity moments, like those type of internal things. And then the other question you asked, like why the traveling, right? Why did I think that would answer me? What about it?
Yeah. Why do you think is it easier to find an answer once you moved?
Because of awareness. So a lot of life, a lot of even, you know, fulfillment, how it comes about is because of awareness. And all that awareness is just, it's information. I believe we live in a data system. I call it the larger consciousness system. For me, it's a data system. And all it is like lots of information. So for you to, you know, be happier or live a better life, you need to expand your awareness. You need to have access to more information. And why the traveling, I feel, help with that is because you're almost forced. You're forced to. You're exposed to so much more information, and it's like that challenging factor. So of course, you know, if you stay in the same place, you see the same people, you do the same things, you don't have a lot of challenge with new stuff because new information asks of you to get a bit out of your comfort zone, because you have to think differently, you have to do differently, you have to, you know, kind of, it's like a lot of people are so scared of new information because new information challenges, you know, what you feel comfortable with already. Like, I believe this, so new information comes like, okay, but now I have to stop believing this, or yes. I have to question this, or I have to change this, and it's like, okay,
it's absolutely not true.
Yes, like it causes so much. I would say, it causes a lot of discomfort for people.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I believe you always have to remain skeptic in life, because even me, still to this day, even though I have very strong beliefs, I still challenge my beliefs all the time.
I wanted to point this out as a little goodie for our listeners. Because it is something that I experience very often in coaching, that people are at the extreme stuck in the problem state. Yeah. And even if you're looking for the solution, and you're looking for the solutions in the things that you already know, But the things that you already know, or the habits that you already created, are what brought you here. And what brought you here won't get you there. So if the way that you're living life or dealing with a situation caused a problem where you don't know the solution, the only way to find the solution is to do something completely different. Not spending more time in finding the solution, but letting go, doing something completely. This is why being out in the nature, going running, going traveling, going on a coaching seminar. This is why when we are going on Kilimanjaro, you come up with a completely different idea, because all of a sudden your conscious mind is dealing with something it did not have to deal with before. And when you it's so difficult to imagine, but if you're doing the best you can to imagine what it means that your nervous system has 1 million bits of information per second, and your conscious brain is able to process 10. Well, the 10 is quite it's quite simple to fill it up with 10. But there are another almost 10 million that are unprocessed in the conscious brain. So if you're looking for that solution over here, you might not see all the other possibilities. And if you do something completely else, all of a sudden your unconscious mind might say, well, hello, there's something over here because it was already there. And I just wanted to point this out, because I like it if our listeners are maybe sitting in the car now thinking about a problem. Don't worry about it. Do the opposite. And even if you want to solve a business problem, go out for a nice evening with friends or do something really fun, especially if it's fun, because then your tension is losing. Well,
exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. I love that so much. It's so important, the whole thing about just having fun and enjoying, because we are getting in our own way most of the time. You know?
Well, who else? It's not our own life.
I know. Yeah.
And this is, if you have the situation where you think somebody else is getting in your way.
Yeah.
Well, that person is not getting in my way. So the problem can't be with that person.
Yeah.
Because if it was that person, he would get in everybody's way. But as he doesn't get in my way, only in yours, it means the problem has to be you, not him. And it's always within us to change our focus and our perception of the world.
Yeah.
When you were looking internally,
yes,
I still didn't get it. How do you look internally for happiness and fulfillment?
Well, that's where the answer comes at the end. You know, it's you find it within. You can't find it with, I was looking outside. I was of course, I was in life, in activity, but the answer was back with myself. So how I came to that is actually through a man from India. And I learned 4 techniques that I practice every day. And when I practice these 4 simple techniques, first time I did it, I felt something. And that's the knowing. I knew. I found the answer. I felt who I was. So my definition of happiness is knowing who and what you are and living from that knowing. It's our natural state. So for me, that's where the fulfillment comes.
Sure. 4 things. Like what? The 4 things the Indian man told
the technique. The technique. I can't give you that because I made a promise. I mean, people can reach out to me and I can, put them on the process. I can't because it's a promise. Part of the process to get it is I went through, it took me 9 months. Sometimes it takes people less, but however long you want to take with it in preparation for it. Because of course, it's a fundamental thing and you need to kind of be prepared to be open to accept this gift. And because he gives it for free, you need to make 3 promises. So one of the promises, do not give these techniques to anybody. You can go through the process. I could put people, I put people on the path of the process, but I can't give it just because of the promise.
Well, I could tell, I found the secret way to happiness, and it is so joyful. But I'm not telling you. Well, at least you could tell us where to find the process.
Yes. Well, you can go to my website and you can find it there. You can contact me and I can put you in touch with that.
That is a mean cliffhanger. Your website can be found where?
youmeandhappiness.com.
Is it like you like you and me like me?
Yes, everything written out, and as well, youmeandhappiness.com.
No minus in between.
No, nothing.
Okay. You, me, and happiness.
Happiness.
And the hidden secrets. Well, you asked. Well, the last thing you told us about your story was traveling 9 years.
Yes.
What I'm asking myself is, why are you traveling when you already found happiness?
Because I enjoy traveling, and there's I think there's two things. Because I was doing it for so long, it was a habit. Even when I told you that little thing, that mechanic thing I did, just to kind of put me out of my comfort zone, I think I became
the comfort zone.
Yeah. It was really I loved it. That's why I'm so happy now with COVID, because I've been in Portugal almost 2 years, staying in one place. But I kind of moved 3-4 times already here in Portugal, but, same country. And yes, I think I kept traveling because I really enjoy it. I do find it very stimulating. I learn so much from different cultures. I learn so much from myself continuously, as I said, putting myself out of the comfort zone. And I think everybody should travel. I think it's, another thing what I also think about traveling is, I feel like whatever you believe in, I call it source. Source gave this earth with so much variety. I'm going to explore it. Why else is it here? I'm not going to just stay in one place. I'm going to explore it. I've got so much life to live, and I want to do as much as I can and see as much as I can and experience as much as I can, because it's a very joyful thing to do. Because you're expressing yourself as a human, and you're enjoying everything that was given to you as a gift.
Who do you want to be remembered for?
Someone that brought happiness to people's hearts. Someone, yeah. I think that's enough, like a very simplistic way, like a very joyful, just to bring that simplicity back to being a human on earth.
And how do you bring happiness to others or my life?
That's why I started this You, Me and Happiness, because I always say, I don't think there's one way to reach this answer, but I found a way that works. And, if people connect with me, or they come on my path, or they do coaching with me, I help this, and it's, it works. So if anybody has that fundamental question, or they haven't found their peace, there are ways. And I'm just another, I would say, tool in this world, like a person in this world that can help people with that. And then on the, with the biohacks, the natural biohacks that I work, I feel once people have this foundation of fulfillment, you still have to be in this world. You know, we still have to get out every day and do things. And it's not like my life, you know, miraculously became easy once I found that answer. Actually, you know, like when I found that answer, like my eyes opened up, and everything for the first, you know, couple of years after that was even like worse. You know, it was harder, even though I was at peace inside, but the physical things were very difficult because I was no longer, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. You know, I had to deal with my things because it was right in front of me. But, and in that place, in that way, I managed to learn quite very good skills and these natural biohacks to deal with this. So on the other side of happiness, I have that where I feel, as I said, knowing who and what you are. So that's with the fulfillment. And then living from this knowing. And the living from this knowing, if you know who you are, if you really know what your worth is, you know what your capacity is, and you know that you need to evolve in this life. And for you to evolve, you need to lower your entropy and become more efficient in the system. So to
Which
be more,
system?
I call it the larger consciousness system. So if you think about consciousness, it's a system. I see it as like a big system. And to be in the system, I believe that the goal of this, the LCS, the larger consciousness system or source, is to lower its entropy, to, you know, have less chaos. And to have less chaos, you need to be efficient. So I derive a lot of joy from being efficient because I feel I'm doing here what I'm supposed to be doing. And for me to help people with that as well, and I see when your life runs much better, then everything is much more enjoyable. You know, you get
when you talk about efficiency.
Yes.
I don't primarily see yourself having a good time.
Really?
Efficiency for me is, in my interpretation, is getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And some of the most joyful moments of my life is sitting with friends at a beach, somewhere in rural Africa, Lake Tanganyika, Kipili, the last possible village that you can imagine, sitting at that 1,000 kilometer long lake and the sun setting at the lake, and I don't have anything to do. I don't have to be anywhere. I can just be there with my friends and enjoy the moment, which is for me, in my definition, absolutely inefficient because I'm not achieving anything. Yet, these are blissful moments. What do you think about it?
It's interesting that you say that because I value those things as well so much, you know. And I always say, I don't know if you've ever read that book, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss.
Is it a question if I read it? No, I only read the summary and I thought this is not for me.
I quite enjoyed the book. I read it like many years ago.
I said I'm never going to work that much.
Anyway, so but he was always saying, you know, you're taking mini retirements throughout your life, and I made sure of that. But okay, so back on the efficiency part is you can. To be efficient, if you say like you're thinking about, I understand where you're coming from. You're thinking more like in a work way, you know, efficiency. You kind of like putting that in the category of work, or you know, being busy. But if you kind of broaden your perspective and think of efficiency as being part of a big system of consciousness, and then you have to look at the characteristics of the system. So what drives this system of evolution in life? Doesn't matter if you come from religion or whatever, science or anything. It's love at the end of the day. So it's what drives the system is love, coming back to thinking more about others than about yourself. Unity consciousness, So that is also part of the efficiency. So when I look at efficiency, it is looking at all the core elements of life and, living like that. In other words, you have a body. You don't need to take medication. You don't even need to eat. So I experiment with fasting and things like that. I love, I also enjoy food and, like cooking and things like that. But I do it sometimes for a different reason, or I keep always experimenting with these things or pushing my limits with these things. So yeah, for example, say if you think about your body, then you look at it, you say, okay, what can I do with my body? And that's also like efficiency. So you're breaking things down and really getting to the core of it, of the quality of it, and raising your awareness in that. And again, it comes with the information. How would you, the system of efficiency is all to do with information. So what kind of information are you consuming? What are you doing with this information? Are you putting this stuff that's not necessary? Are you leaving that, out of you see what I mean? Like organizing your system, organizing your thoughts. When you gave an example before, what was that? When you talked about the bits, was it about the bits that you talked? And you said,
I don't know. Was it?
yeah, but you were talking about it. You kind of explained it like a data system as well. I remember you talked. I can't remember.
Yeah,
if it was before the podcast or in the podcast.
When I said we have the 10 million bits that are available to our nervous system every second, and our conscious mind is only possible to process 10 bits per second. It means that there are almost 10 million bits that you are not processing in your conscious. And when you change the surrounding, then you all of a sudden have, you're focusing on something else, and therefore there are new, pieces of information that can come to your conscious mind. This is what I said. I don't know if it doesn't help.
Yeah, I would say, okay, coming back to your thing about being on the beach. So if you if you feel like you're on the beach and you are happy, okay, you're in your bliss, maybe ideas would come up in your mind, maybe impulses, and you follow it, then there's nothing wrong with that. Then there's a very efficient way to live. But as you said before, when we started, you don't want to sit on a beach all day long having a cocktail. So that's a different side of it. You see what I mean? It's like it's not about being on the beach. It's about following that intuitive path. And you can do that also, that can also be like part of your own efficiency model, if I can call it that. But it is about knowing, like, when you know what you need to do and you don't do it, that's not a very efficient way of living. But if you are aware of what what your source or your intuition is telling you, and you follow it, 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 your life improves drastically. And that's efficient.
How important are relationships to you?
Very important. Because
how do you bring efficiency into relationships?
Well, first and foremost, the most important relationship is your relationship with source, with your inner being. And if your relationship with your inner being is good, then all your other relationships are good. So again, it's kind of like reverse engineering the process and thinking, okay, I take care of my relationship with my inner being. And again, that also, you can bring that back to the answer to fulfillment, knowing who and what you are. And you are communicating on a daily basis, with this part of yourself, then automatically your relationships are good. But I use relationships as almost like a mirror. I'd always talk about this thing called the mirror effect. So I use relationships as a mirror. And I'm like, when there's challenging moment with relationships, I get so excited because I'm like, okay, wait, I can now see where I am with this things. And then but when for dealing with it, I don't specifically have to deal with the person in my life. I go back to myself and I change myself. And then the next time I'm confronted, say, with that same person or different person, but similar situation, I see, okay, let's see if what I was doing in the background with myself, did it pay off? And many times it does. Sometimes you have to go back, try again. And that's how I kind of deal with it.
You said before that, one of the fundamental things is love, and that it's so much about, not so much about yourself, but about giving love. And then you say the most important relationship is the one with your inner being.
Yeah.
So the one thing is directed inside, where you say, okay, basically you have to love yourself. You have to be in tune with yourself.
Yeah.
But before you said it's about bringing love into the world. So what do you think? Is it both at the same time? Is it about giving love or being loved?
I think when I talk about this relationship with my inner being, it's not so much, I think when people say, or the general thing when people say, love yourself, I don't like to say that, like that, exactly what you just said. It's like a cliche thing, isn't it? Where it's like, you have to love yourself. You have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. That is.
Is it cliche?
I think it's a thing that people say, but I think it's one of those things that people say that they don't always understand. And that's why if I say I have a relationship with my inner being, it is understanding yourself, knowing yourself, like more than loving yourself. Like loving yourself sounds like, I don't know, I think it's hard to kind of answer it from that perspective, but I want to give you a good answer. So when I talk about the relationship, I talk about that consciousness, that communication with my consciousness, on that taking responsibility for myself, because I know that I'm a part of this system. But when I talk about, as I say, it's important to come to love, is when you know who and what you are. So I know I'm a little piece of consciousness connected to all the other pieces of consciousness, which is you. You're a piece of consciousness as well. So
hopefully.
so because I am feeling whole within myself, or worthy within myself, I can express now this love to you and think about you, or think about the world, or how I can help, but not coming from a place of separation, of a place of inclusiveness, of like unity. And that's why, and again, understanding the system. So if I'm just going to think about myself, my relationship with myself, loving myself, it's different. But if I think on the efficiency part, okay, how would I be able to serve all these other pieces of consciousness and then the bigger system as a whole? Well, of course, I need to understand what it is, what I am, for me to understand what they are. So it's almost like that's like that relationship that is important on the inside, because people are projections, people are projections.
What do you love most, except from your inner being?
I love being happy. I love being happy. Okay, I love, like I always say, okay, I love most the source. I have a very intimate relationship with my creator. And I love being happy, and I love being like a child, which I think you can relate to. I love that. I love playing. I love doing silly things, or I always feel like a small child, like with eyes like this, like I'm like an adventurer. Like yesterday I went walking, so I go to the beach every morning, and I have different paths. So just recently I started taking different paths, and I found something yesterday, just like it was a path, I didn't know where it was going. I was trying to get a shortcut back home, and I just found this little path, and then there was like this old rune, and there was these like orange flowers, and I even made a video, put on my Instagram, but I was just like, but that's what I love, is just having these magical moments, because I believe that I live in a magic world, and I always have lived in a magic world, and I really love the fact that I don't limit myself to what I can experience in life. That's what I love, interesting experiences.
And what frustrates you?
What frustrates me? Okay, I have to think quickly. What frustrates me? Oh, technical things, like when a computer doesn't want to work, or like I can't get it right, or I can't get a hold of a support team when I want to fix something, if I want to do my work. I find it really frustrating. Yeah. Like
I'm currently living in a support hell. I have multiple companies, most of them tech related, with technical stuff which is not working, and the support team just screwing me. So yes, thank you for reminding me, because now it's the much more important question: how do you deal with it? How do you get out of there? Because, well, I'll need to try that.
Well, it's like I say to myself, because I know how energy works. Now, I say to myself, well, can you do anything about this right now, Helen? Okay, if I'm really upset, I use, like if it's really something big that upsets me, I do like something called EFT tapping. So that just quickly releases emotion, it kind of balances your energy very quickly. So if you get upset, like it takes like 2 minutes, I do that. I can just calm down, because if I'm upset, I can't think. But then I just ask myself, okay, so Helen, can you do anything about this right now? No. Or if there's something, I say, okay, let's do this. We've contacted the support team, we've sent the email, we set up a meeting or whatever, like what it is. And then if I can't do something, I leave it. I just leave it. I go do something else. Distract myself. I was like, okay, fine, I did what I could. Done. It's nothing. And I feel like these positive affirmations, I say to myself, so I said, there's nothing serious going on here. All is well. I say that to myself. Nothing serious going on here. All is well. And sometimes it's just because I understand how energy works. As soon as you shift your energy, you don't have that resistance. Pew, something happens. Like a miracle, this thing just works out. Somebody calls you, whatever it is, the thing just goes on. Like many times my Mac, not many times, it happened once or twice, but my Mac just like died. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I was once out in Spain in the middle of nowhere, and my Mac just died, like nothing, zero. There's not even I was like, okay, this is bad. There's not even a Mac shop. Like, I don't even know. I don't even have a car. I can't even get anywhere. Like, this is bad. So it's like, okay, just calm down. Nothing serious going on here. Just relax. Okay. And then when you do that, you get different solutions coming up in your mind. So it's like, okay, you've got your phone, got Wi-Fi, just check, if a Mac dies, what should you do? So I literally went on my phone. I was like searching for it, and it says I can't even remember what it was, but you need to press this button, that button, and this button.
And to say, yeah, I've been there.
And I was like, okay, let's just try this. But normally before, if I say a long time ago when things really upset me and I couldn't get out of my spiral type thing, I would be freaking out for like days, I wouldn't even think of going on my phone, researching. I would accept the fact that my Mac's now dead and will never come alive again. I'm going to have to get to a shop now and all of this. But then,
and they just press 3 buttons at the same time, and all of a sudden it's working again. But for our listeners, you mentioned something which they could see on the video.
Yes.
But not if they are listening only to the podcast. You were tapping your head at certain points.
Yes.
If you are interested in this as a listener at the moment, just go to my website, and if you click on resource, there are some videos with tapping techniques to release.
Oh, you do? That's wonderful.
You get them for free. You just have to be signed up to the newsletter, and you can view them. So one of them is an anxiety release, and the other one is a general stress release. It's a 6-step tapping, and just if you're interested, go there and check it out.
Do you use it yourself?
I do. Yes. You look, I lost all my hair from tapping too much.
It's so good. It's so efficient. I mean, it's such an efficient way of releasing your emotions.
One of the best living hypnotists is Mike Mandel from Canada, and I did my training there, and we are friends now, and he has been on the podcast I think maybe 5 episodes before you, and he's a big fan of these tapping techniques. There's one which is super cool, is the triple warmer. And it's he's calling it the new belief install, because if you're pressing this, and if you're giving yourself positive affirmations, they are much more likely to stay. So I'm going to.
I kind of, when I put the intention, I go here.
Yeah, you say, well, this is going to be an absolute fabulous podcast. I will have the best guest ever,
doing it right now.
We have a very, very nice conversation, and we'll stay in contact and think back positively about the podcast for the rest of our life. Yay, it's so cool. It's a little bit woo-woo, but as long as it works, I don't care.
It's like Eastern, like, you know. Like acupuncture.
How do you deal? Well, I could go on forever, but I promised my listeners to stay less than an hour. So I am interested in 2 more things. Two more questions. One is, how do you deal with loss?
Loss.
Yes, loss of friendship, loss of relationships, loss of loved ones, loss of maybe even fun things. I mean, you said you love to be childish, you love to go surfing, and all of a sudden, let's say you for some reason you can't go surfing anymore. That could be a loss of something. And maybe I'm going to add the second question, because maybe you can combine this. Give our listeners at least one insight of something that they can practice for themselves.
Okay. First, with loss, I'm going to talk just about belief. It's a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. So I feel free because I choose. I know I have choice. Doesn't matter. I have choice of how I want to think in life. So when it comes to loss, I have created this belief for myself for a long time that there is no loss or gain. So everything for me just is. So when something happens, rather than reacting, of course, sometimes I react, and I have ways to, as I just told you, the frustration or whatever. But I try to kind of separate myself, take myself out from these perceived negative experiences, and I train myself to look differently at it, because it's all perception. So I would say, so if somebody dies, for example, so I had a grandmother who died, and I really loved my grandmother. But when she died, I was never feeling the loss, because I had so many strong beliefs about everything surrounding this situation, that it supported the positivity side of everything. In other words, I spent a lot of time with her while she was alive. I did a lot of fun things with her. I took as much, like always asked her, what did you learn in life? Tell me about this or that or the other thing. So I extracted as much as I could. So I felt really good about that. I didn't feel any guilt or any regrets. And I always look at that in a positive way. And then even, when she was in the hospital, towards the end, everybody was crying. Nobody could deal with it. I went there, I brushed her hair, I spent some time with her. I just thought like just trying to comfort her in that way. And so that was so the end process was good. And then I believe that when I see a butterfly, and this is it's my beliefs, it's my things I've created. I believe when I see a butterfly, it's my grandmother. So every time I see a butterfly, I'm like, oh, there's grandmother. And also because I have beliefs that, you can't really die. You just become part of the system again. It's all the big thing. So I don't think she's gone. She's just somewhere else, just not in this form here right now. So there's so I can go on, so I take loss is just another perceived negative thing, but I take that perceived negative thing and I choose to perceive it in a positive way. And then it's good. Or you can loss of something else. Do you want to give me another difficult example? Maybe.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. Because you were talking about something very, very personal, and everybody who's alive will be dead one day. And everybody who's alive right now knows somebody else who's alive right now, and they will be gone. So you refer to something which is very present in all of our lives, if we constantly think about it or not. And that putting it into a bigger perspective, the way that you did, and reframing it is something which can be, a gift to our listeners. And this is why I don't want to add anything else. Just let it sit like this. And if you want to find more out about your philosophy, you as a listener can contact you, Helen, at you and me.
No. You,
me, and happiness.
You, me, and happiness.
You, me. Yeah. I knew that was the end. You, me, and happiness.
Yes.
I will link it in the show notes as well.
Yes.
And maybe we meet again or talk about something else. I definitely hope that we stay conscious. Our consciousnesses. How do you say the plural of consciousness?
Yeah.
The consciousnesses?
The plural of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's a funny word, yeah. Our consciousnesses.
Yeah.
It sounds funny.
Well, as long as they stay connected. Helen, thank you. Thank you very much. Good luck with your surfing skills. And
I stopped surfing. Just put that note out there. I tried it. I didn't enjoy it.
You have to know that is maybe one last refrain. Helen went to Portugal to learn surfing. And this is all she said. I went to Portugal to learn surfing. Now I say, good luck with your surfing skills. Oh, I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And she stayed in Portugal for 2 years. And she liked being locked down. So that is an amazing way of reframing the world you live in.
Yeah.
Helen, thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so lovely.
Yeah. All the best. Bye.
Thank you.